so many more people. David Mohammed Moisey, thank you there, Moisey. We have Scheme Nilnut, Steamin' Uncle. Hey, thank you, Steamin'. Thank you for coming. Thanks for all your steaming. Sunny and Nancy climate. Glad to see the weather shifted a little bit. Sunny, Nancy, not so pleased that you came along. Moan and Nemo light skin. Tinkle Monies again, yep. Put the money in your hat, Tinkle Monies, we need it badly. Leo! Leo Nitemynks, Oley. Lovely to see you. El Stinky Menno, of course. Great to see you back, El Stinky. And, yep, if you're late, just try and do it unobtrusively, please. You know, we have a bit of a problem with numbers here. Everybody wants to be here, of course. Now, while they're playing lovely music, by the way, yeah, thank you, Stephen, thank you, Climbing, and thank you, Matinks. Well, what can I say? As always up for a challenge, of course. Always up for a challenge. I did say very mistakenly. Last week I did say, why the fuck would I say? I don't know. But I did. I was on a bit of a roll, you know. And I thought, well, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Why don't you bring, I'll go back to Nitemynks Oley. Why don't you bring a book along and I'll just make some shit up? So basically, you know, take a prime number, take a particular part of the book, use the line, and create an original and spontaneous haiku narrative haiku, kind of mini story. Well, wasn't that a mistake? Now, first of all, I could see fuck off because without any glasses, I was, you know, basically struggling because I don't see too well. And I would say, anyone that ever considered laser eye surgery, don't. It don't work. So that's another story.
Don't burn me with your laser eyes, man.
That's another story. So I couldn't see much, but all I could see was the title of the book.
Hurrah!
Hurrah! But anyway, I went to prime number 79, 63.7 and line 17. And just by good fortune, wouldn't you know, on that line, the name Hypatia.
Hey.
Well, I can use it at least. So, in the spirit.
Funny that on a book about Hypatia.
What's the chances? What are the chances? Anyway, you'll be pleased to know that I've created something, and here we go. And this is called Hypatia.
Hey.
Ah!
You didn't break them, did you?
No. I know, sorry, they're expensive.
Oh no, they are expensive. My glasses.
Oh gosh.
Right, so what you know, so we have an original narrative haiku taken from Hypatia of Alexandria, mathematician and martyr by Michael A.B. Deakin, and this is called Hypatia.
Hey!
Thank you very much. Don't clap yet.
Oh, that's it.
Here it is. When I was asked to hype Asia, I cast a semblance of dysfunction. For at luncheon in a downtown Tokyo sushi bar function room, Sushi, whom I got to know pretty well, tell me off for hype in scoff. For to hype Asia was the height of completion. with a human lowlife who to Japan had been screwed and spewed by an implausible haiku. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Well, it gets worse.
Hurrah!
And the other references that I did actually see without any specs, without any laser eye, were just two very quick references, which was chapter 1, which was the hysterical context. I think it says hysterical, my eyes are not too good. The hysterical context, so I thought of all of you, how much laughter had gone on before the break. And the second one, the sources. And it took me to a little thing at the weir. The other day we went to the weir and we went to see the salmon leaping. And to be honest, I got my back kind of facing that way and looking to the weir to see the salmon jumping. And I'm thinking of salmon because I'm thinking of the sauces, of course, and the sauces you put on salmon. And there's the connection. And I was up the weir thinking of sauce and salmon, not that I kind of want to eat them, I just want to see them. And there's this big kid behind me, and he sees this top. He sees this top, and he's trying to look, to see if he can see the salmon as well, and I'm blocking his view. And he says, "Oi, Granddad, get out the way." Well, I turned to him. "You talking to the salmon man, son? You better be running, because the salmon sure ain't." And while he was running, I composed a haiku, and here it is. And funnily enough, it's called Salmon. And this one is dedicated to Salmonella, Salman Rushdie, Salmon Sharma, Salmon Davis Jr., Alex Salmon, Michael Fish, and the lost minty soul children. And it's called Salmon. Remember, haiku 575 is important here, people. Traditional haiku, this. Salmon. Hey! Where's the salmon? Where are the fucking salmon? Hey! Where's the salmon? This one's called Who, and it's by Sean Commonly too. And it's based on the stream of consciousness writing that we do. Or as Stephen Uncle would say, the stream of consciousness writing that we do. And it's called Who. If the stream of consciousness flow into lock of consciousness, Ness. And the monster of lock of consciousness began life in the stream of consciousness. Yeah. If all of this is true, who the fuck are you here? The tale of the four Susans, which are kind of a nice little link from the salmon. Maybe. Spring. And again, for those of you that were here last week, just a slight tinkering with this. But this brings in the characters in our story that we're developing for March and for our performances in March. Sleeping through winter's bewitching beat, into waters bedrooping drops by the dead Susan in its bed. The cook and the nanny, shipment line, Prof. Collie in it, Ms, of course. Known to Susan Y as Bitchy. Crotchety Ma and Grandma, why not? As for Dad, Wayne Wax. Scratchy. Crook, unquestionably. Outsider too. Flail provider who cracked life out of Susan Y. Collie, well he tried, but she with Susan Gyro spirit formed sistership and sail on it. This one's called Balance by Monty Le Sink and Steamin' Uncle. Balance. With the balance of the world wholly out of sync, the trapeze artist slip off the rim of the washing up bowl, where the tap dancer lay still. Extract taken from Pastor Henry Frog, Memoirs of a Prison Chaplain. chapter 1. Spring for sprong, frog not for sprong. Spring found frog, sought frog's forgiving tongue. Frog found sprong, all wrong. Spring sprang sprong. What I like to do with all of this nonsense is to kind of make some connections. So what you're going to hear now will connect to the story at the end of the night. Hey, it's going to be another story. And this has a connection with that. So you kind of getting that the material so far will be building up to a story that will contain some of these references. And this is called Sponge. When the Facebook reps got together to put together a commemorative bath sponge to send out to those of the great unwashed who spent most of their days on the Facebook site and or had absolutely no friends, they also got together to put together a list of those said great unwashed. Joint top of the list of those said great unwashed just happened to be both Collie Nitemynks and Sigmund Loin Prof. When both Loin and Init received their commemorative bath sponge at pretty much the same time, they felt an instant gratification. And just one of them understood why. Which turned into a deferred gratification once they buffed up the sponge a bit. When they both noticed that the Facebook reps had had face written on side A of the commemorative bath sponge and book written on the other, both Init and Loin instantly and at pretty much the same time turned the sponge to the other side, that is, not each other, for they were in very different baths, on account of the fact that neither Loin nor Init ever washed their faces in the bath, for very different reasons. Here, at very much the same time, both Init and Loin take it upon themselves to deface the commemorative bath sponge, converting the word book into something both assonant and insolent. Now, this reminds, and in times to come will remind, the pair of a different gratification, shared or otherwise. Right, you've been pleased to know everybody. It's come to that time of night again for the story. And what we did is to create a story using the characters that you've come across already. And for those of you that weren't here last week, I've tried to bring some of the last week's story into this story. So as winter goes to spring, and the story of the Four Susans develops, we meet in it again, and we meet Sigmund Loin, and particularly Susan in it, who is Collie in its daughter. And as the story will unfold, as we will perform it, she's in hospital, and she's on a life support after a tragic thing happened at the New Year to party. And they are thinking about the future for Susan. And this is called Switching Off the Machine, that spring-summer transition. Not wishing to add further fluid to the hosepipe ban, Professor Sigmund Loin suggests to Miss Collie Innit that it is the job of the therapist to provide the spoken and written material from which the client can work, mature and heal. It is not really ever up to the client to be providing such advisory to the therapist. But that would presume, in it Ms. contest, that the hinging judge be wholly sober, not half-cut. Naturally, Sigmund replied, of course, without a shadow of... Here Loin breaks off and wipes an imaginary sparkle of gruff from his tear-jerked eye. And, Collie adds conclusively without fear of conflagration, on that especial presumption one must assume that there be clear division twixt the mathematical and the mathematician, twixt the client and the counsellor, that at the end of the whole caboodle one can say quite catamongrily, who is counselling and who is being counselled, FFS, FYI, etc. and on. But, Prof, you didn't mention, of course, that I provided you with more of Charlie Darwin than meets the eye. And that where On the Origin of Spreadsheets, Voyage of the Damned, HMS Jeremy Beagle, Ship's Log Stardate, FFS FYI, Mr. Darwin remark on ship's wax, I refer to my wax. I refer to my wax, to the cunt wax, to Wayne wax, which is remiss of you, Prof, because you and I both know that falsification and fraudulation go hand in bird. And when it comes to wax, wax abiding in his stinking coffin, to unquote Charlie Darwin, you are gonna be as pungent as me. Got it? At that, Collie Innit stride out of the room with a heartfelt smile, pretty ambivalent, pretty ambivalous to Sigmund loin, seated still, head bowed, sobbing out his flailing heart. To anyone who really knew the professor, and there weren't many of those, sure, in it Miz exuded, this scene could have suggested a man merely and momentarily down on his luck. Or a man looking to lick the down off his fuckety-fuck bath sponge duck, and in the proclivisock professor cutting his hose off to spite his Facebook friends. Many of which he didn't, to say the least anyway, have. For in Sigmund's own right, there is, by force of circumstance, only one real and true means of communication, which be the email. Since public phone boxes now piss as urinals, let me repeat that please, pass as urinals, landlines are a thing of the pissed. A mobile he would not deign to own, and bedside which the only person he ever called or was called by was, disingenuously so, Colleen admits, who had by different force of circumstance debunked herself from those she would be born by and those she would be bored by. And in so doing, she had handed in her mobile phone in response to a police amnesty, slurping out its sloshed up slogan, "Why not turn over a new leaf by getting shot of all the dead wood?" If one add in to all of that Facebook to Facebook parlay be an unnecessary complication, that only leave the art of letter writing. But as Sigmund point out, the pen is meatier than the word, yeah? And if by writing letters one condone the destruction of yet another nationalized industry, then don't, I repeat, don't use snail mail. It's a no-brainer. Or no-briener, if one wants to be snail specific. And so, to cut to the cheese, as Collie in it Miz slunk out of that hospital room, Professor Sigmund Loin, sobbing out his flailing heart, write an extended Collie mail, instructing Miss Innit on why turning off Susan Innit's life support machine be both the best thing imaginable, and the worst.
Well,
That was tumultuous applause.
absolutely.
You can breathe now.
Should we take it again?